Welcome back to another episode of the Blue Stable Podcast Prospect Spotlight series we have going on. Again, shout out to everybody who's able to, let this happen. Shout out to Wasserman Agency. They are great. They have great people over there, and we want to shout those people out. We also want to shout out guys like Kendra Miller, Eric Gray, and then this I don't want to spoil anything, but you guys probably already know by the title. But we have Tyler Scott, Cincinnati wide receiver. We did have his teammate on last week, who all of you guys enjoyed that episode. Trust me, this is going to be another great one, another Cincinnati Bearcat, and he's probably going to come after Trey, see who had the better one. But they're definitely going to be competing next week at the NFL Combine. As always, Michael Pevia here, joined by me, Landon Oliver, our head draft writer at the Blue Stable, and we got Marcus, our producer. How y'all doing, gentlemen?
Doing great, man. Another fantastic prospect we got on. I'm super excited to get to chat with this guy and get a little bit insight of how he's going through this process. I'm excited for him. I personally, we talked a little bit before, but he's a guy that started out, on not many radars into this draft. And as this process and the season's grown, you've seen his stock rise, pretty exponentially. So I'm excited to get inside his mind and talk to him and go over some of his game.
Yeah, I'm excited to join too, man. I'm looking forward to the story times and everything and see how he responds to my questions. And hopefully he can give us something good, man. Let's get into it.
Tyler, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great.
Awesome. Good. And Tyler Scott, wide receiver, Cincinnati, speedy wide receiver from Cincinnati. I mean, my goodness, you got Tyler Scott, you had Trey Tucker, and then even like speed all over the field, right? Like, my goodness, that's one hell of a tandem. First off, Tyler, welcome to the show. Best of luck to you in this journey. Congratulations on being a part of this. I know it's a once in a lifetime opportunity for you guys. How are you taking this preparation? Like, how are you doing in preparing? Sorry, for the combine.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm just taking it day by day. From since I stepped down, here in Tampa, it's just been, taking it, day by day, understanding that the most important day is the next day.
Okay, Tyler. So I want to get your mindset on this because this is an Indianapolis Colts podcast. We cover, Indianapolis Colts. They live in Indiana. Bro, you did Indiana dirty this last season. Some people are gonna be watching this. They're gonna know who you are immediately. It's 185 yards, 3 touchdowns against the Hoosiers. Going into that game, whenever you have a performance like that, is that something that you kind of feel pre-game going into the game, or is it something like as you get into the flow of the game, you're like, okay, I got it today?
Yeah, I think it's honestly a little bit of both. Just as far as just when we, preparing for the game, we were understanding like, what they like to do as far as their cover schemes. And, we knew they were, huge quarters team, cover 4 team. So it was like, okay, we're definitely going to have some shots one-on-one outside. So I think my first touchdown was a big post, and they came in the exact coverage that we thought. They played quarters. So, safeties are flat, guarding tight ends. And so we had a great concept called up. And, once I got the first one, I was like, okay, it should be, a pretty good day. And then I want to say the second one, my second touchdown, we were kind of on the 50-yard line, kind of that taint area where it was like not too, not close enough to kick a field goal, but, not quite far enough to punt it. And so I want to say it was like 3rd and 1. And we had this call drawn up like, a couple weeks prior, actually about 2-3 weeks prior. And we were kind of waiting for the right moment. And so I want to say we were like 13 personnel. And I was kind of in a bunch of alignment close to the line of scrimmage. And they crowded the box, which is, exactly what we wanted, kind of get everybody down, all the safeties down, which would then just leave me one-on-one with the cornerback. And he was playing like maybe 4 or 5 yards off. So I was like, oh, yeah, this is perfect. So we did play action. And, from there, he was kind of had his eyes in the backfield and he kind of recognized it late. But at that point, I kind of had a step on him and was able to adjust and catch it. So, that was that. And then the third one, I want to say they ended up changing cornerbacks, and we're going tempo, and I caught a comeback. And he was playing so far off. I was like, all I got to do is catch it. I'm like, if I can just catch it and get it in my hands, I know I'll get in the end zone. So, he's playing pretty far off, and I kind of knew just when my connection with Ben Bryant, I was like, it's coming my way. And so, so I think it was just a little bit of both, just kind of preparing, knowing the game plan, and then also just kind of filling out the game.
I'm sorry, Indiana fans, that y'all had to hear that, but he had to tell us that I am him moment, Tyler Scott. So moving forward, speaking of I am him moment, your college career is over, of course, and you just mentioned that key moment in Indiana. But is there any other game that you can remember vividly where it was like, all right, the scouts definitely have to look at this one?
I actually, I want to say my sophomore year, and for me, just knowing how important and how much pride we take at Cincinnati special teams, that was kind of my big emphasis, especially my sophomore year, was just getting on the field, and I actually ended up starting my sophomore year. But I also wanted to, get on in the field as far as special teams, and that's something that Coach Fickle in Cincinnati took really seriously. Was the punt team. The punt team and special teams. Like, if you weren't on any of those units, then you couldn't really be trusted yet. And so, I think my kind of breakout moment was my sophomore year in the Cotton Bowl versus Alabama. And I talk to teams now, like I'm like, just go back and watch the Alabama film from last year. Just watch on special teams. I made, countless tackles going down at gunner. I had a great kick return. And I had a great. I was coming off the edge as well on punt block, and it got to the point where they had to bring in an extra defender to stop me. So I think last year, just in that phase alone, in special teams was for me kind of that other him moment, so to speak.
Marcus, you said you apologize to Indiana fans. I apologize to Indiana fans that you are Indiana Hoosier fans. I just want to apologize for that. Tyler, speaking of the Indiana game, man, you did them dirty. All right, those guys have dreams and aspirations too, and that all went out the window. But your time at Cincinnati, that was just it was phenomenal. You're coming out early, and it's just you're a unique prospect. So my question for you is, how would you describe your time at Cincinnati and how that program helped develop and motivate you to become a better player and a better person?
Yeah, so I guess it starts from, the first day you walk in the door. We have a mentality there. It's called, tough and nasty, at least under Fickle. It's tough and nasty, and that meant a lot. We took a huge emphasis and pride in doing the little things right. The way you do anything is the way you do everything. Coach Fickle said that a lot. The way you do anything is the way you do everything. So just really having balance in your life. And not just, on the field, but off the field. You can't be great on the field and then be weak in, academics or vice versa. So, so just in that aspect alone was huge. And then just my mentality, my mentality grew as soon as I walked through the door, just as far as our preparation, the things we did just to prepare ourselves for the season. But I mean, it was things that we did in the off season that had nothing to do with, catching a pass or, making a block or scoring a touchdown or anything like that. But it was all fueling our mentality, So when we get in these tough situations, you lean on your brother. You rely on your training and your brother to help you get through a lot of those tough moments.
Yeah, that's great stuff, man. And something I've always kind of loved about watching speed guys, and that's pretty much what a lot of people classify you as, is like, hey, you're just you're the speed guy. But something that I've learned watching your film that I've really enjoyed is how quick you accelerate and you decelerate out of your breaks, and just kind of how nuanced your route running is. What are some other parts of your game that you think are a little bit more underappreciated that people don't really speak on?
For me, I think it's kind of my blocking down the field. After the catch, after the play is, after the running back gets the ball, or after, the ball is caught, always just running towards the field, or running towards the ball. You know what can happen, a fumble, or you can make a touchdown, a touchdown block. At Cincinnati, I was awarded at the time under Fickle the highest honor in the program, and we had this thing, in our program called the Play Hard Board. And the Play Hard Board was something that was given to not everyone. You didn't have to be a starter necessarily to get it. But it was just somebody who was an example on the field of somebody who goes hard, does everything right, does the little things, finishes through each play, those type of things. And so, for me, it's just taking pride in just finishing after the catch, and not just catching the ball. And that was, especially for me, one of my biggest, I want to say, areas of growth from my sophomore year to my junior year. And one of my biggest emphasis was just yards after the catch. And, not just being satisfied with catching a 10-yard gain or a hitch, but being able to catch it in turn, being able to see the defense, before you catch the ball and kind of recognize and feel where guys are at and, be able to, make a move accordingly. So I think those two things are, two things that I would love for scouts to kind of appreciate about my game as well.
So you mentioned wide receivers. You mentioned your game and everything, talking about speed, accelerating, decelerating. So I just wanted to know, who were some wide receivers that you enjoy watching to help become the wide receiver you are today?
Yeah, so for me, like I said, I played running back, kind of my whole career growing up from when I was 8 years old all the way to my senior year in high school, and so I didn't really get a chance to really start watching receivers or didn't really focus on the receivers until I got to college. And so a couple of guys I like to watch are Terry McLaurin, who went to Ohio State. I just think he's a dog. He's a leader as well. I think he's kind of just underrated a little bit because, inconsistent quarterback play. But I just think he's a dog. I love Justin Jefferson. I loved him out of college. Him and Jamar Chase were two guys that I love, and I think they're changing the game. And even the trajectory and the importance of a receiver. Those two guys are just really making, strides as far as the receiver position. I also love Amari Cooper. Just the way he uses his pen to run his routes is just phenomenal. Like, he's just textbook. He's a guy, like, I tried to, even just watch, prepare for the combine. Like, he had such a great combine, just how smooth he was. So, those are a couple guys who, I love to watch.
So another question here. I know this is a little bit different for you. So, I was going through some of your career numbers and, your snaps and stuff like that. You hardly ever lined up in the snap or in the slot. So you got 26 snaps in the slot, 677 snaps out wide. I know it's a little bit of a change because, you're obviously going through, the traffic in the middle of the field, all that kind of stuff. So how have you kind of been prepping, if you should make that transition at the next level, for them to move you into the slot a little bit more?
Yeah, just really as far as the route, the main thing is the route tree. And also you have more, I guess you would have more space, more room to work, kind of in the middle or in the slot, so to speak. You do have more defenders. So the biggest thing there is really your eyes. And kind of just really seeing the whole defense. Kind of out wide, you only have to really focus on kind of 2 or 3 guys at a time. The safety, got the near safety, the corner, and possibly the Sam or the nickel if he's even that wide. So you got kind of like a smaller triangle, as if where it's different than when you're in the slot, where you kind of see you got to see the backside safety, the safety over top of you, the Sam, nickel possibly, and then also you got a cornerback. So so the biggest thing there is just kind of just really studying the game. That's the number one thing. Just studying the game, watching football. Like, I think that's the number one thing that even just throughout my career, just playing football from when I was little, just watching the game and understanding, and just being a student of the game. Like, you learn so much. You learn so much. You learn what to look at. You learn what you're seeing. So that's kind of been the biggest thing, is just really just working on the route tree and just really studying the game.
What's your favorite route to run, man?
Big post. Big post, easy, yeah.
Easy one.
Yeah, it's easy.
Speed and then break inside.
Yeah, I can manipulate the DB how I want. Set him up during the game. I can open up and just go. So I love the post.
That's another thing Landon was talking about, and it's funny that you mentioned that because like earlier he mentioned, you get labeled a speed guy, and we talked about it last show with your teammate Trey Tucker, where you have your speed guys, but those are just fast guys. They're just fast. You get the ball to them in open space, and they outrun everybody. You're not just that. Like Landon said, your footwork is very good. You're able to make guys miss. You're not just a speed guy. You're an athlete, basically. Like you're an athlete. And that's interesting that you say deep post, because that's exactly what your film shows. You'll run by guys, and when a corner thinks he has you right where you want them, move inside, and you got him beat.
Yeah,
So
like I said, I mean, go ahead.
No, go ahead, finish. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, I try to take pride in that, part of the game. I understand, like, I'll be labeled a speed guy, and those, and obviously that's a good, because coaches love to see that and hear that. But for me, just really perfecting my craft. Being a receiver, like, you look at some of the best receivers of all time aren't always the fastest guys, and for me, just being able to use my speed and using it to my advantage was key for me, especially all throughout my years in Cincinnati, and just learning to continue to grow in that area. Just learning how to use my speed to my advantage. And so, especially last year, my junior year, I was able to kind of, really get the feel for what defenses were doing, how I could use it, how I could use that speed type of intimidation to, kind of manipulate the DB, watching a lot of film, just learning how I could set DBs up and things of that nature. You talked about stories, Marcus, and I got one for you. So my sophomore year, why don't you say my sophomore year, since I stepped in the door at Cincinnati, we had a guy at Cincinnati. He was a cornerback by the name of Kobe Bryant, and he was a dog. He was everything that a football player should be. You know what I'm saying? Mentality, just the way he carried himself, like he was just a dog. And so, sophomore year, I was, like I said, I was starting, and so I was going a lot against, I was going with the ones, and so I would see him quite often. And so, I was asked one time, I was at the pro day last year, I was asked by a team, and they asked me, who was the better quarterback, in my personal opinion, between at the time Ahmad Gardner and Kobe Bryant. And for me, it was a quick answer. I was like, man, it was Kobe Bryant. And the dude was like, oh, really? I was like, yeah. Truly. And he was like, so why is that? I was like, well, I think for me, honestly, I might be a little biased too, because I've seen him more often than I did Ahmad. But I was like, for him, it was his mind. Like, he would play a lot of mind games with you. It was times where I would come out of the huddle, or I would line up, and he would tell me my route before I even run it. Like, I walk up to the line. He's like, all right, bro, I know you got this post coming, or man, I know you got this dig coming. I'm like, dude, how do you even know this? Like, I just lined up. Like, I didn't even do anything yet. I didn't motion. Like he would just he would always just know what I had coming. And so I was like, man, well, don't play the route, at least, you know what I'm saying? Like, at least give me a good look. So, he would do those things. And I tried to learn how to, like, okay, I got to mirror up my routes and things of that nature. And for some reason, like, he always knew if I was about to break to the post or if I was about to break to the out route, you know what I'm saying? And I would try to mirror those two up, but for some reason, he would just always know. But then I started finding out, like, okay, I started watching film and studying him. I'm like, what is it that he's doing? And, I was like, oh, wow. So for him, he liked to play kind of off, and he kind of liked to see the field. And he's reading what number, the number 2 receiver inside him he's doing. He's reading the quarterback drop back. If he's doing a 3-step drop, if he's doing a 5-step drop, if he's doing a 3-step drop, he's probably ain't going no. He's probably not throwing it too far, so he would kind of sit. If he's doing a 5-step drop, he probably knew it was going to be something deep, so he's running to the post. And so, like, he just kind of knew those things, and he was just so smart in the game in that way. And so all through my sophomore year, I had to learn how to get open and get somebody who already knew what was coming. And for me, that just made me so much more of a better player, because, I mean, he was a Jim Thorpe Award winner, first and foremost. Like, he was awarded the best cornerback in college football. And on top of that, like I said, he knew what route I was doing. And so I had to learn how to get open versus that. And once he left, the game just opened up so much more easier. And even in the game, like, I wasn't facing anyone nearly as good as him. It was just so easy in the game to learn how to, like, manipulate people. And sometimes I didn't even have to do too much to get the job done. I would just give him a little quick head nod, and I got guys turning around. I was like, wow, and I'm like, I tried this on Kobe. This ain't working. So, so that was just kind of my little story of just my growth as a receiver and just going to get somebody that was so good and just translating on the field.
Kobe Bryant, pain. Tyler brought back some pain memories because that dude was always in my mock drafts last year, man. I loved him so much. And it's interesting that you said that, like, okay, Kobe was the better receiver or the better corner, sorry. Because Ahmad always got the credit, rightfully so. Great cornerback. But everybody was always tuned in to Ahmad Gardner, and it always took away what Kobe Bryant did so well, which was physical. Like you said, get up in your face, physical. He was going to challenge you like a man, and now he's a pillar for Seattle and that defense for years to come. And how the dude was available in the 4th round, I have no damn idea. I really don't.
I was surprised when he got taken there. I was like, are you serious? Like, there's no way.
Landon, we were like last year, there were a couple of corners like, okay, Colts, go get this person. Like, how are they still on the board? Kobe Bryant was like my number one, and then Tariq Woolen, who was also in Seattle. Like, isn't it weird how Seattle always lucks into damn draft picks? Like,
I'm jealous.
Sorry, that was just a weird thing. Cincinnati's has had some great DBs come out, like James Wiggins, Derek Forrest. You got Ahmad, and then Kobe last year. Awesome stuff. My next one,
and then even my boy, you can't forget my boy, B Cook, Brian Cook, who was over there for the Chiefs. He got taken in the second round. Nobody remembers that he was taken in the second round.
My apologies, Brian. Sorry.
Super Bowl champion.
Super Bowl champion. No, yeah,
right. Super Bowl champion. Speaking of teammates and seeing another guy who's in the NFL, your former teammate Alec Pierce. You know, we got to chat with Trey about this as well. Alec is obviously in Indianapolis. This is an Indianapolis Colts show, but we are obviously talking to prospects. What would it mean for you to you know, if it's a big if, but you know, you get the call to Indianapolis. I assume Alec is probably going to be calling you and trying to kick Chris Ballard, GM, off the phone and trying to call you first. What would it mean for you to be back in the wide receiver room with Alec Pierce?
For me personally, it would be huge because, you know, AP was somebody I looked up to when I got there at Cincinnati. He was just somebody who did everything right. You know, he was just that person that you look to. You know, he wasn't the more vocal type of guy. But he was truly that type of leader that you just wanted to model yourself after, as far as just the way you walk around. You know, just on the business side, just handling your business, being where you need to be, doing what you need to do, you know, at the best of your ability, doing what the team needs. You know, he was moved around a lot when he was at Cincinnati. He came in at linebacker, believe it or not. He played a little bit of linebacker in Cincinnati coming in, and you know, the coach didn't think he was at the time a receiver, so they moved him to linebacker. The new receivers coach came in, and then they moved him back to, you know, the receiver, and then he was also on special teams, and he had a lot of value there. So, you know, for him, just really taking advantage of your opportunities when you get them, you know, was something that I took away from him, and just being about your business. And so, like I said, he was just somebody I looked up to in that regards, and you know, he became one of my best friends on the team, and you know, I even communicated with him, you know, after the season. You know, when he was going on to the league, you know, we still, you know, would continue to talk to each other on a consistent basis. And so just to be back in the room with him, I mean, I've been down here training with him. We went to dinner last night. Like we hung it, we kicked it for the Super Bowl, me, him, and Trey. So, you know, that's my guy. You know, I love that dude. And so just to be back with him would be, you know, huge for me.
Real quick before we move on to Landon, your wide receiver coach, man, we got to give him some love because as you're talking, I'm just sitting here. Huh?
For sure. Yeah.
Because I'm sitting here thinking, you, Trey, and Alec, what do all three of you guys have in common? Your footwork is so good. Shout out your wide receiver coach, man, because this guy.
Yeah. No, shout out to Coach Brown, Coach Mike Brown, man. He, you know, I went to Wisconsin now, you know, with Fickle, and you know, for him, like. One thing about him is that he would not let you slack off. Like it was, you know, he was real precise with his coaching. And so at Cincinnati, we ran more of a basic type of offense, you know, but even in that with our routes, like it was precise. Perfection was expected. Like you never ran a route that was perfect. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you could always do something better. And so, you know, for him, like he was just huge on just doing the little things, the technique, making sure your feet work are right. I mean, it was just so many different things that he helped develop me as a receiver. You know, that helped my game along. And so, Huge shout out to him. I can't forget Mike Young, who he wasn't drafted, but he was signed last year by the Colts as well. But yeah, no, he does a phenomenal job, with what he does.
So taking it past the football field now, obviously you don't get to this point in your life where you're preparing for the NFL draft without a lot of sacrifice, without a lot of help, from people that are surrounding you. Who has been that person for you that, has kind of helped you get to this point and that you look up to?
Oh, my dad. That's an easy one. That's my dad. Yeah, ever since I was little. I got another story for you, Marcus. Um, yeah, so it was. I can remember it was a game. I was 8 years old, and I was. It was my first tackle scrimmage, and so I remember I had went off for about 2 to 3 touchdowns, and I remember I came off the field and all the parents are congratulating me, saying like, "Good job, Tyler! Good job! That was so great. This, that, and the third." And I was just saying, appreciate it, blah blah. And then I remember I got to my dad. I was like, "Dad, did you see when I did this? Did you see when I made that move there? Did you see when I spent and I did that and blah blah blah?" And so my dad stopped me. He was like, "Listen," he was like, "never toot your own horn." He was like, "Never toot your own horn." He said, have other people do that. They've seen what you did. He said, allow others around you to do that for yourself and just allow your game to showcase itself. And so from that point on, my perspective on life and just the way I carried myself on the field, on and off the field changed. And so he's just been a huge component of just, really just somebody who's been there, through everything. And, through every step of the way. The biggest thing that he's taught me growing up was always to remain humble, always to remain humble. I mean, through anything and everything, you're not better than somebody just because you score touchdowns and, catch the football. That doesn't make me better than somebody who's trying to get a degree, who works a regular 9 to 5, So for me, it was just him, always being there, always just keeping me on the right path in the right direction.
Hey man, love me your stories, man. I appreciate both of those for sure. So
No,
I
for
know you
sure.
mentioned I know you mentioned wide receivers earlier. You mentioned, Jamar Chase, you mentioned Justin Jefferson, but now we got to put you in the hot seat, right? I got to ask you one. Between two wide receivers, you got to go against your boys. Who you going to go with? Alec Pierce or Trey Tucker?
You said I got to pick one?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh gosh, man.
They're not in the room with you right now. They're not going to bop you upside the head or anything.
No, they're not here. Trey is down the street though, so that's a tough. I mean, they're both different though. You know what I'm saying? Like Trey's dad, and AP's in the league, so I'm gonna have to go with AP. He's got a little more, tenure than us. He got a little more resume, so I'm gonna have to go with AP. That's my guy. So still, I love Trey though. He knows that.
No, don't worry. We're gonna grab that clip and we're gonna send it to Trey. So yeah.
Hey, please do that so he can walk in and tomorrow do workouts and be upset.
And then next thing you
We can
know,
have
he's
an
gonna give you
argument.
the quiet shoulder. So,
Give him a nice little argument. I love it.
that's good, man. And back to another Colts related question, and I have some things to ask about, off the field as well. But sticking with the Colts, if the Colts are going to draft a wide receiver, why should they pick you?
Yeah, I mean, well, first and foremost on the field, for me, I'm a big play guy. Biggest, a guy that's gonna give you a spark. Fun fact that I learned kind of after the season. I guess all my touchdowns were of 20 plus yards, and I think I averaged 43 yards a touchdown. 43 yards a touchdown, and so for me, um, what did you notice, in this last Super Bowl? Kind of those big spark plays. The NFL is a copycat league, and so you start seeing, it's turned into a pass game league. Okay, we established that type of deal, but now you start seeing, okay, guys that can, go and catch that deep ball. That changes the whole trajectory of the game. If you can score fast like that, make explosive plays like that. So, you might see, a trend of, teams starting to look for those deep threat type of guys. And so, for me, that's where my specialty's at, just really being able to stretch the field, take a safety out the box. You know what I'm saying? That opens up the run game. You got Jonathan Taylor there, he did it with an ankle injury, last year, but, that just helps and opens up the run game, and other parts of the game, so much more. So you're gonna get somebody who's explosive, going to provide a spark, and not only that, you're going to get a great person. Somebody who's humble, who's not going to look for all the accolades, all the praises. You don't got to worry about things from me off the field. I've been labeled as the old head at Cincinnati, so to speak. That's all everybody used to call me, that old head, grandpa, old man, all these different things. Because I don't like to do too much, but you're not gonna have to worry about anything like that. So, you're gonna be getting a great player and also a great person in Tyler Scott.
Not have to do too much. That reminds me, because I watched your guys' wired practices, Wired Wednesdays, and I remember in one of them you said, "Man, we need to mic up Trey again. We need to mic up Trey again." I'm just
yeah.
Okay, so is he trying to say I don't want the mic anymore? I'm not going to give you any entertaining stuff.
Gosh.
I guess that's what you were alluding to with that.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. Trey will give you a show. Trey's the guy that's gonna give you a show. He's that type of guy. So I'm like, let him take the mic, let him do his little deal, dance and all these little things. Me, I'm like, when I seen the mic on my pads that practice, I was like, why would they do this to me? I'm like, I don't know why they did this, why they chose me. It's gonna be a whole bunch of heavy breathing and running. I'm gonna be just running deep. So but I mean, it was cool. It was a cool experience.
Yeah, and you were getting tackled when you weren't even in a practice. So
yeah, I was getting tackled. I was the only one. He got a couple other people though. So
there you go. There you go.
So going back to last season, obviously you guys had a lot of NFL talent on that roster. They built that basically from the ground up going there in Cincinnati, and that was kind of the culmination. Was playing in that championship game for you guys. What are some of the experiences from that you think will help you in the league, and some things that you take with you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I played with such great players, but not just great players, just great leaders. Like I said, I mentioned the Kobe Bryant's, Desmond Ritter, Alec Pierce, Joe DeBlanco, Brian Cook. I mean, it was just so many guys that carried themselves and that were really about their business as far as just, as a football perspective, just how to go about, your business on and off the field. And it was just, I took so much from that. And for me, that just helped me grow so much more as a player, that when it was time for me to, finally be able to be the quote unquote guy, so to speak, I was able to take that at full force, and I was ready. I had been, up against so many great players. Like I said, we had the Jim Thorpe Award winner on one side, and then we had the number 4 overall pick on the other side. So like, it was so many great guys, that I was able to, be with, that just helped my game, not just on the field, but just off the field, of just knowing, how to go about, my football life.
Yeah, you mentioned how you was the old head in Cincinnati. So I got a fun question. Like, if you're the old head, how do you prepare yourselves for the game? Like, do you listen to music? Does it turn you up? And if you do, like, what you listening to? Like, the world needs to know.
So this is gonna be, kind of, I wouldn't say long-winded, but it's kind of a background to what I like to do. But for me, it actually started with track. Growing up, I was track and field was that was number one for me. As far as just my preparation, and that's something I'll have all my kids do, is run track. I ran AAU track growing up, but that's something I'll have all my kids do, because I think first and foremost, like, it helps you prepare, not just, for running, and that's all great, but just mentally, what I'm saying? You have to learn how to deal with stresses and pressures at a very young age. What I'm saying? You'll be ranked at a certain seed. Like, you have to live up to that hype, that expectation. You walk into a track meet, people see you, and they're like, oh wow, he's here. Guys get scared, and they expect you to, run certain times, and things of that nature. And so at a young age, you got to learn how to deal with that. You got to learn how to, be expected to, win races, things of that nature. And then also you have to learn how to bounce back. You got to learn how to, you may not do great in one race, but then 30 minutes later, you got to come back to another event. You got to bounce back quick. And those are things you have to deal with, as a young 9, 8-year-old running track, like you got to learn how to, deal with those type of things. And so for me, that just taught me how to deal with my emotions, my anxieties, things of that nature. And, one thing I learned from that is never get too high, never get too low. And with track, I was really in tune with myself. I was able to become really in tune with myself, so I could, go out and perform at my best. And, especially in track, you don't want to be too antsy and too all hyped up, because then you might fall start and now you're DQ'd. And so, for me, I kind of carried that mentality onto the football field, especially in preparation for the game. It was just, I was real mellow, real calm. For me, I like to listen to jazz music. I like listening to jazz music, smooth and calm music, things of that nature, just to ease my mind. Because that hype, adrenaline, all of that only lasts until, after maybe the first 2 drives. And after that, it's a whole bunch of, things that come into play. But, for me, it was jazz music.
Yeah, that's an old head response, Mike.
Sounds like it's a lot of meditation as well. And Tyler makes a great point. He makes a great point. The adrenaline and everything in the first 2 drives, and then everything is about your mental, mental mistakes, cutting down on those and making sure you're sticking to your assignments regardless of what position you play. So that's actually some really good insight from Tyler there. Would you consider yourself a leader or a follower?
I probably consider myself a little bit of both. Knowing when to lead and knowing when to follow. For me, especially my sophomore year, even my freshman year, but especially my sophomore year, I was a quote unquote starter my sophomore year, but I had so many great guys and weapons around me, that I kind of just realized like it was their time. Alec Pierce was over there. You had Desmond Ritter. You had who had Heisman talk. You had Jerome Ford, and so like the offense had a lot of weapons. You had Josh Wiley, Leonard Taylor, and so for me, it was just kind of sitting back and recognizing like this may not necessarily be my time yet. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, it was learning how to, be a follower in that moment, and doing whatever was asked of me, and just kind of, taking a step back and realizing like, it's their time. They have, they've worked hard to get where they've gotten, and it's just kind of my time to sit back, take in, and just be a reliable target whenever, my name was called. There was times last year where I caught the ball and had 1 catch, 1 touchdown last year. Like I had like 2 games like that where it was just 1 catch, 1 touchdown. Open up the game with a big post, touchdown, and that's all you heard from me for the rest of the game, But I was just trying to do whatever I could just to leave my mark on the game and just do what was asked of me. And so just learning how to follow in that way. And then now for me, I'm not a huge rah-rah type of guy. I'm not gonna, be the yeller, that type of person. But for me, I'm the guy that you're gonna look to see, like I said with Alec Pierce, same type of guy. Somebody's gonna do everything right. Somebody you can look to do everything right, to be where you need to be on time, and do it at the best, at the best of their ability. And so, for me, that's just huge, as far as learning how to be able to do both and knowing when to do both.
Really good.
Well, I was going to say, this is my last one. I just got one more for you. So a lot of guys going into the season, they set personal goals for themselves. And, so at the end of your rookie season in the NFL, what does a successful year look like for you?
Yeah, so, first and foremost, like I want to be a starter. You know what I'm saying? I want to be able to come in and, take somebody's job. And so, that's what we're doing now. You got to go. That's what you're expecting to do. You come in and take somebody's job. And so, that's first and foremost. And, one thing I pride myself as well on is special teams. Like for me, that was huge emphasis, at Cincinnati with special teams. That's how you earn your stripes. That's how you earn it on your field. And I take pride in that. We, both train out. We were gunners. And, we took pride in our special teams. We were a top 5 punt team as far as net, the last 2 years. And so, for me, just being able to have an impact, having an impact on the team and having an impact on a winning culture and a winning championship team.
Marcus, did you have anything else?
Oh no, I'm all set, man. He gave me my stories and he responded to some questions, man. We gotta put him in a hot seat on Twitter though. We're gonna do that later.
I mean, I like that little attitude. You know, I'm coming in to take somebody's job. I like that feistiness. You know, not don't always have to be politically correct and try to tell us what we want to hear. Well, I mean, not us, but like NFL teams, and you
No, for
know,
sure.
tell them what we want to hear. Like, team comes to you at the combine, hey, you know, what are we going to expect from you? Well, you're going to expect a hard worker. Tyler comes in, you're going to expect me to take someone's damn job. That's what you're going to expect me to do. So
I
that's
mean, that's what you got the NFL, man. You know, guys last, and you know, guys are there, guys are gone, and you know, it's not like you know, college where you sign a contract, you're there for guaranteed 4 years or you know 5 years or whatever, and you get to you know stay on the team no matter what. Like, nah, it's like you know you're on a short leash, and so you know that's literally as we've been training down here in Tampa. That's been the word. That's been the theme. Is you know you're literally coming in to take somebody's job. You know what I'm saying? Like they're not going to pay you all this money and you know expect you not to. So you know, that's been my mentality. You know, especially since I declared was just I'm here to take somebody's job.
I know somebody on the Colts whose job you can tell you that's for damn sure. But just all fun and games here. Tell us about a time at Cincinnati that you will hold on to and why that matters so much to you.
Yeah, I think it has to be the college football playoffs. That whole experience, that whole season. You know, really, you know, it was really a movie. You know, coming in, we had some hype. You know, because the previous year we ended up losing to Georgia. We were ranked like seventh in the nation, something like that. We ended up losing to Georgia in the Peach Bowl on a walk off 51-yard field goal. That one hurt. You know, that one hurt. We started the game off great, and you know they don't have any timeouts. They drive down the field and end up kicking a walk off 51-yard field goal. And so for us, we were hungry coming in that next year, and so and that whole year, you know, we end up starting off good, beat Miami, beat Murray State, and then the two games we had, which were important, was Indiana at Indiana, and at the time, Indiana had a good year the previous year, and they I think they might have ended the season like 13th. They were like top 15, and so you had Indiana at Indiana, and then we had the big one, Notre Dame, you know, at South Bend. And so those were the two that was like looking at our schedule, looking at what we had done, you know, the previous years, because you know, don't make no mistake about it. Like it took us really 3 years to get into the college football playoffs. Like it wasn't just because we had one good year. Like the committee was not just gonna give us one good year and then oh yeah. No, it took us like 2 to 3 years to actually get a resume of consistency and then be like, okay, we can consider you for the college football playoff. And so those two games were kind of like the tours, like, okay, we need these. And so just walking through it, like I remember we went to Indiana. Man, it was hot. It was hostile. We didn't have any water on the sideline. You know, we're driving in on during the game on the buses, and we seen all the fans. All we seen was a whole bunch of middle fingers from everybody. Every Indiana fan we seen, it was a whole bunch of middle fingers at the bus, and we are like, okay, it's gonna be one of those type of days. And so we walk into the stadium. We're warming up. It's hot, man. I feel like the cleats are gonna burn off my feet. And it's 100,000. It's packed. It's like 100,000 people. And I'm like, man, this is the largest crowd I've ever played against. It was loud. It was rowdy. The student section was right behind us. So, you know, they're talking their trash. And so I remember like the first drive or two, we couldn't even we couldn't hear each other. I mean, we started huddling because usually we just did hand signals, but for some reason, we wanted to huddle that game. Couldn't even hear Des Ritter when he was standing next to me. I mean, it was so loud. Like he would come up, I'm like, we can't even hear you. Can't even hear you. You're standing right next to us. So, you know, that was the huge game that we had to get past. Won that one. Went to Notre Dame, beat Notre Dame in, you know, pretty good fashion. And then from there, it was just continuing to win and win in good fashion. But that's what we kind of didn't do. And that's where kind of a lot of things took place as far as, you know, we faced Tulane, didn't really, we won, but we didn't beat them. You know what I'm saying? Navy, same thing. We won, but we didn't beat them. You know, it was just kind of, you know, that little lull in the middle of the season. And I remember just those moments and those feelings at those times, like we would come in after those games and it would feel like we lost. Like literally, we'd be walking around the building and we had to have meetings, you know, with our coaches to figure out like what is going on. Like, why are you guys walking around like, you know what I'm saying? Like we lost. Like we're undefeated. We're ranked fourth in the country. Like, why are we so upset? And for us, we just kind of felt like the committee was judging us differently and was going to judge us differently because we know how they are. They're not going to, put in a 2-loss, even a 1-loss Cincinnati in the college football playoffs. And so we knew that we were going to be judged differently, and we felt like we had to play up to a certain standard for the committee to be able to just see us and recognize us to be like, okay, yeah, they deserve to be in the college football playoff. And so there was that time in the middle of the season where we just kind of went through a lull, and Coach Fickle just kept saying, just win. All you got to do is win. He said, it's a weird year in college football. Teams are losing. It's hard to win. Just keep winning. And so we continued to do that throughout the season. We ended great. Ended up winning the AAC championship. And, from there, we obviously seen it that we were, invited to the college football playoff. And, just having that opportunity was huge because, for me, going against Alabama, that's something that you grew up watching. You grew up watching that. You know what I'm saying? You grew up watching Nick Saban. You grew up watching, all the great players that, have been there. You grew up, idolizing, trying to be there. You know what I'm saying? And so to finally get in that position and then, the kind of aha moment for me was watching Nick Saban run out the tunnel. You know what I'm saying? I was like, wow, like he's actually coaching against me. Somebody who when I was little used to watch, in the national championship, stage just win year after year, back to back. And it was like, wow, like he's about to actually coach against me. Like he probably had the game, prep for me. You know what I'm saying? So like, that was just so wild to be able to experience that moment and just be on that spotlight.
That's special. That's special. I mean, you can keep going if you want. Like we can continue to hear about that year. And you're absolutely right. The committee would have dawned on you guys. I mean, hell, I'm kind of glad that Oklahoma State lost on that day because if you had undefeated Oklahoma State, undefeated Cincinnati, Oklahoma State's bigger brand, all that stuff, like they're Power 5.
No, that was huge. That was huge. I remember like the third. I don't know if it was the third quarter or like the start of the fourth. I want to say of our championship game, our conference championship game versus Houston. I think we were up like maybe 35-20. We had it, seemed to have it in the bag, and there was murmurs on the sideline like, "Hey, Oklahoma State lost," because I remember I think they went into overtime or something like that while we were kind of preparing or something like that, and we're like, "Yeah, we heard Oklahoma State lost," and once we heard that, it was like, okay, like it looks like it's time. And I remember that night, man, it was, we ended up winning that. Everyone ended up rushing onto the field, and it was like. It was just such a surreal moment because it was like, wow, like we actually have a chance to do this and we're about to be put on this stage. And so, there's this great clip of, one of the former Bearcats, Cody Lamb, wasn't a starter, but, real key guy, as far as just our preparation, it was Cody Lamb. He's got a Bearcat flag, sitting up and he's like, the crowd's got him, in the air. He's got this Bearcat flag and you can see just everyone around him, surrounded on the field. And it was just like Cincinnati felt like they were on top of the world at that moment. I know I did. So that whole season was special.
Oh, I'm just wishing you keep going on and on and on and on. I'm just wishing it because I just want to keep hearing about it. And you said it was a 3-year buildup to get to that moment. Arguably, y'all could have made it 2 years in a row, but the year y'all went to face Georgia, correct me if I'm wrong, y'all couldn't play a couple games because of a couple teams because of the pandemic, they had to cancel those games, right?
Yeah, no, I want to say it was a couple of those. Yeah, we couldn't play Temple. I can't remember. I remember there was a time where we went
3 weeks, I think.
I want to say, yeah, we went like it was like a month, it felt like, until we had to play our championship game because we played UCF. And then after UCF, like everybody on the team got COVID. And then we had to cancel. And it was like a whole month until we actually played. And it was, well, you're going to have to play in a championship game, which is versus Tulsa. So, yeah, man, I mean, yeah, there was a lot of different things. Even in that game, we had guys out too. We had my guard didn't even play that game. He was hurt. And George Pickens went off. So.
That is true. Man, but that Cincinnati was such a fun team. Like people would look at it, they're a small team, but they had Power 5 talent. They had Power 5 talent. Like they had the coach, had the scouting department, had the position coaches. Y'all had Marcus Freeman, the DC there, and then a new DC takes over. Still don't lose a beat, and y'all continue to have a great time. And man,
Yep.
that's awesome for you in Cincinnati to be able to experience that, go to college football playoff. Everybody in the country is, playing for a bowl game. Guys, guys that are going to the draft aren't even playing in it, but it's different for you guys. It's a chance for a national championship. How did that
Oh,
feel?
yeah. Yeah, you're talking about the 2021 season?
Being able to know that in that moment, everybody else in the country is, technically preparing for the off season, but you guys, out of 100 plus programs in the country, you guys are one of the teams fighting for a national championship.
Yeah, I mean, it was right here in front of us. It was just like, wow, like this is something that we, from the beginning of the season, is one of our goals, play for championships, and what was so satisfying was just to see us check every box on the way, to that. We were able to, win a rivalry game. Check. We were able to go and beat Indiana on the road. Check. Beat Notre Dame on the road. Check. All right. Win the rest of the league. Win the AAC conference. Check. Now it was just all right. Now it's just time to, put it all together. But just being able to have that, that whole season, it helped me grow in so many different ways. And then as well, it's just I think I think that's something that for me, like I really cherish just because like we were the only group of 5 team in the history to ever do that. You know what I'm saying? Like the chances of that happening again, especially with the new rules, like that was hard. You know what I'm saying? That was hard. And like I said, it took about 3 years. And the game that really changed it was when I was a senior in high school and they beat UCF at home. When they beat UCF at home, I want to say UCF was in that top 25. They beat UCF at home. That was what really kind of changed the whole trajectory. That's when Cincinnati really turned around, where it's like, okay, they arrived. We beat UCF at home, and then from there on, like it was like Cincinnati's here. And so I want to say that year we ended up losing to Memphis, but Memphis had some guys. Had Curtis Gainwell. They had Coxie, who was a receiver, who was great. They had Antonio Gibson. Like they had some guys on that team, and so they ended up losing to them. But the following year they came back, and we ended up beating Tulsa, and ended up beating Houston. So it definitely took some a path, so to speak, from like a lot of the older guys, and that's one thing. Like when we were there, Coach Fickle used to always just talk about the older guys who were there before us, and just how much what they did help us get to this path. When Fickle took over the program, they were like 4-8. You know what I'm saying? Like they came in, they weren't a winning program, and so just from year one when he came in all the way to year 4 or 5, we're in a college football playoff. So it was just a credit to their hard work for helping us get in that position. You had guys like me who helped just continue to, hop on the train and keep it rolling. So, so yeah, it was like a 3-year type of span for us to get in, but it was worth it.
I have a few more for you here. And as you're talking about that, I want to ask you that I happen to ask Trey as well. You're leaving Cincinnati in such a better place than you found it. Cincinnati is now a Power 5 program. Like, you guys had Power 5 talent. I've said for like the last 2-3 years, you've had Power 5 talent. You've fought for championships. You went to the playoffs. But now they are in a Power 5 conference. What pride, how much pride do you feel and humbleness do you feel in knowing that what you put so much work into a program is now in such a better place than when you found it?
I'm not sure if Trey honestly said what I'm about to say, but one thing that Coach Fickle always said was always leave the place better than what you found it. He would say that constantly. Leave the place better than what you found it. And so, so for me, like, yeah, I mean, I take huge pride in that, and just is basically accomplishing that. Walking in and being able to be a part of something great, and leaving, and also for me personally, the younger guys that were under me, just helping them develop in their game.
And another one, got two more here, but the first one is going to be a little fun. You were speaking with Chris Johnson, the legendary Titans running back. I know Titans isn't necessarily the greatest topic on this kind of show, but great running back in Chris Johnson. You got a chance to speak with him, and he is part of the 33rd team as well. We got a great relationship with those guys. He put his stamp on it. Tyler Scott of Cincinnati will have the fastest 40 time in the NFL Combine next week in Indianapolis. Do you support that claim?
I do support that claim. Honestly, it's going to be between me and Trey. If it's not me, then it's going to be my dude, Trey. If it's not me, it's going to be my guy, Trey. Yeah. We've been training down here. We've been, I think it's been whoever wakes up feeling the best, So, and that's the thing, like, people are sleeping on Trey, man, as far as his speed. Like, they are. I'm sitting here seeing some things and hearing some things like, oh, he's projected. I'm like, you guys really don't know how fast this dude is, man. Like, people really don't know how fast he is. Like, I'm telling y'all, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be wild when everyone gets shocked and surprised when he pops out. But I've been training with. I've been training with him my whole life, but people really just don't recognize how fast he really is. I could just say people who know, but but yeah, no, that's definitely my goal is to have the fastest 40-yard dash time there, and I'm working at it.
Yeah, no, trust me. I was gonna say, trust me. We know on this show how fast he is because I put it out there. And whenever we had him on, it was gonna be like, between y'all two guys, and that dude's a freak, man. Like just an athletic freak, man. Like we were going through some of his numbers. I was like, man, like dude squats 600, runs a 4.2, bench press and 225. Like, I mean, that guy's a freak. So no, I'm excited to see you guys at the combine for sure. You're gonna put on a show
for sure.
Hey, man, I've wanted a few Cincinnati guys the last 3 years. We ended up with one finally in Pierce. I wanted the Hudson kid, the left tackle. I wanted him. Went to Cleveland. Cook was another one. I wanted James Wiggins. No, I wanted Derek Forrest. Washington.
Hey, we drafted Brooks also. We drafted Curtis Brooks.
Yeah, guys did Curtis Brooks. Yeah, took him to 7th.
And then Michael Young as well, but he'll be back. But I think I want another one. I want another one selfishly. And then my last question for you, Tyler. What is your why? Why do you wake up in the morning and choose football? Why do you do what you do?
Yeah, it's my family. First of all, it's my family. I just can't thank them enough for the position that they put me in, giving me the opportunities, to come this far. They've been there every step of the way, and just continue to have a better life. For them. For me, I don't. Yeah, you make money, things of that nature. But one thing when I was going through my recruitment process was when I was in college or in high school, I really wanted to brag on my parents, really. When I went to all these different places, I wanted my parents to go there with me. I wanted them to be able to, get out of Ohio and just be able to travel and, to really put them out there and, have people recognize, like, what I'm saying? Like, these were the ones that got me, to the place that I am. And also, I wanted them to see, too, being African American, you don't see a lot of, there's a stigma out there, dads, not being there, not having a, 2-parent household, having a 1-parent household and, household. And, even where I originally came from, from the area in Akron, my brother and I were pretty much the only one, on the block that had their biological mother and father in the home. And they ended up, my dad stayed, my mom stayed, they were married, they weren't, what I'm saying, kind of together on some situational, stuff. Like they were married. They've been married for now like 20, I don't know, like 28 years, 27 years, something like that. So like, what I'm saying? Like they stuck together and they stayed with me and my brother. And, I wanted to, show that, I wanted to be able to showcase that, that I came from a great household and I had 2 loving, caring parents that, were with me every step of the way.
I always love to hear the answer to those questions, man. It's been a great show, man. You are a great guy. I just hope the best of luck for you. Wish the best of luck for you next week in Indianapolis. Probably one of the biggest weeks of your entire life. Landon, Marcus, anything else before we close?
Yeah, man, just wanted to say, obviously, thank you for your time, for hopping on here with us. I think you've got some really special stuff to show, a lot to bring to the table for NFL teams. I've been loving to see your rise as this season and as this draft process keeps going. You keep shooting up boards. I think I saw something earlier tonight, had you in the second round already. And I'm like, man, I love seeing that stuff. So congratulations to you. I know you've worked really hard at it. Further best wishes on your career. And I'm excited to watch you going forward, bro.
I appreciate
Hey, man. Appreciate you for joining the show. Best of wishes for sure. Looking forward to watching you hopefully play the Colts eventually, or with the Colts. Who knows how that may go. But, appreciate you for having the show and enjoy the story times, man. I really did.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you guys. I had to throw in a couple stories in there for you.
Speak for yourself, Marcus. I don't look forward to him playing against us. I don't look forward to that. Speak for yourself. But Tyler, man, thank you for the time. Congratulations on a great year or a great career at Cincinnati. I know you are going to be in the hearts of many Bearcats as they transition into the Big 12. Shout out to Norton High School as well, where you graduated from. Norton High School. Shout out to them down there, or up there rather. But other than that, guys, I can't thank Tyler enough, and shout out to all the Cincinnati players and coaching staff, because, man, everybody that comes out of Cincinnati is just a phenomenal human being. So other than that, guys, we still got some more interviews coming to you this week. We also have, remember, Landon is kicking us off on Thursday, playing GM of the Indianapolis Colts. Tyler may or may not be part of our mock drafts. We may not know. You'll have to tune in to find out. But I'm now intrigued in the second round what Landon might do. But Landon is kicking us off on Thursday. The show will be out that Friday. That is a great series that we are going to be starting off this year and doing every single offseason. Stay tuned for that. We will be doing that for you guys soon. Thursday, Landon, best of luck to you. Do not piss me off or Marcus off. Do the right thing, okay? So other than that, make sure you are subscribed to the Blue Stable on YouTube and following everywhere where you get your favorite podcast. Tyler, thank you again for the time, my man. Best of luck next week in Indianapolis, and I can't really say much more. Blessings to you and your family and much health in the future. We'll see you guys later.